Welcome to our Unit 2 for U.S. History A presentation of the Road to Independence. Let's begin this process by doing a little activity. Please use 3 of the following terms in one sentence. I'll give you a minute to work on this. When the music stops, put your pencils down. Basically, the road to independence starts with the differences between the northern and southern colonies. In the north, there was a commercial economy and an urban society. In the south, there was an agricultural economy and a rural society. Those differences started to make the colonies very unique and very different. And particularly what was being noticed was that in the north, where there was this commercial production, the English colonies, the English were not allowing the colonies to sell their commercial goods to anybody else except the British. And the British gave them low dollar amounts. And a lot of the goods that these commercial northern cities were using were coming from the agricultural south. So it started to become kind of an idea of the northern commercial colonies to rebel against Britain so that they could start selling their goods created and manufactured in the northern colonies to other countries like France and Spain. Other factors that allowed for kind of the good ideas of the revolution was the Enlightenment and the Great Awakening. This was a period of new thinking, scientific and religious beliefs that kind of came together to think that people should be governed by laws and not just people. Furthermore, a Christian church emerged where new ideas battled the old ones that had come from England. So as more and more Protestants who were rebelling against the Protestant church and Catholic church in England, they found roots in America and they started to push people away from British rule and belief. Well, here's 3 gentlemen that were part of that movement. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like busting out some rhymes at this point.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Big Ben Franklin engine, Edwards at the door, ready to make an entrance. So back on up, cause we're about to mess stuff up. Give me the musket first so it can bust like a bubble. Science and religion together, you know you're in trouble. Nothing but an E-thing, baby. 2 roped out patriots who are crazy. Sons of Liberty is the label that pays me. Unfadable, so king don't try to fade this.
Yeah, that's right. Well, besides those guys and their thoughts, their ideas grew into rebellion as colonists came together and started to go against some of the taxes that were being used as Britain was engaging itself around the world in conflicts in Africa and Asia. They started to have direct taxes as well as indirect ones where they were taxing goods that basically were coming to the U.S. Instead of just things that American people, or not the U.S., but the American colonies, the colonists were buying. They started to resent this because they weren't getting representation in Parliament. Some of these taxes were things like the Stamp Act, which was a direct tax on goods that people were using for contracts and things. And basically, colonists started to boycott this tax. Eventually, there were indirect taxes like the Townshend Acts, where colonists started to kind of do active protesting. And then eventually, the biggest kind of act of protest, which was the Boston Massacre, where colonial propaganda showed the brutality of how martial law and strict use of violence was being used in Boston by members of the British Army on some rebelling colonists. We'll talk a little later about how significant that propaganda was from some of the first patriots in America, namely Paul Revere. Now, eventually, this all leads to the Boston Tea Party, and colonists basically organized under the idea of the Sons of Liberty to rebel against the British by dumping 15,000 pounds of tea into the Boston Harbor. As you can see in this picture, the legend goes that many of these members of the Sons of Liberty dressed up as Native Americans and basically went on the boat and threw the tea into the harbor. This caused Boston to be put under martial law, which made things even more reactive in the area and pushed forward towards the beginning of War. The creation of the Continental Congresses and the Committees of Correspondence eventually would lead to Thomas Jefferson and other colonial leaders to write the Declaration of Independence, which was an act of treason. And suddenly colonists began choosing sides between the Loyalists, those on the side of the British, and the Patriots. Majority of the Americans or the Patriots at this time are actually mostly loyalist, and many of them started to head into the southern colonies, which remained very close to the British, as well as into Canada. So this becomes the first war over ideas. Now, that's not necessarily true. There was always an idea behind most wars, but this was really different. It didn't start as a war for independence. It was really a war to be fought over this idea of liberty and the idea that we should be free from the constraints of that old world of having a king or a monarch or a queen as our leader and the person who is dictating our ideas and our thoughts, and often under religious control. And so the question here that we get to this end of this is, are you willing to die for freedom and liberty? And these colonists were, and that's what led to the creation of the United States of America. Now, as you go forward, there are some vocabulary assignments in the independent folders, and these are some of those terms. All right, so let's get started and have some fun.